Have you ever stopped to think about how little we actually know about our own planet? We've sent rovers to Mars, we've mapped distant galaxies billions of light years away, and yet the oceans right here on Earth remain one of the greatest mysteries in the universe. Scientists estimate that humans have only explored less than 20% of the world's oceans. That means 80% of the underwater world is completely unknown to us. Nobody has seen it, nobody has mapped it, nobody knows what lives there. In this video, we're going to reveal 10 absolutely mind-blowing facts about the oceans that will completely change the way you see our world. Make sure you stay until fact number 10, because it might be the most shocking thing you've ever heard. Let's dive in. Fact number 1. The oceans are deeper than the tallest mountains on Earth. When most people think about extreme places on our planet, they think about Mount Everest. Standing at over 8,800 meters above sea level, it feels like the roof of the world. But the ocean goes far, far deeper than that. The deepest point on Earth is called the Mariana Trench, located in the western Pacific Ocean. It reaches a depth of approximately 11 kilometers. To put that into perspective, if you took Mount Everest and dropped it into the Mariana Trench, the entire mountain would be completely swallowed by the ocean, and there would still be over 2 kilometers of water above its peak. 2 kilometers of pure dark, cold, crushing water above the tallest mountain on Earth. The pressure at that depth is over 1,000 times greater than the pressure at sea level. It is so extreme that it would instantly crush most submarines. And yet, life still exists down there. Tiny organisms, strange creatures that have never seen sunlight, surviving in conditions that seem completely impossible. The Mariana Trench was first explored in 1960 by 2 brave men in a specially designed vessel, and even today, very few people have ever been to those depths. We know more about the surface of the moon than we do about the bottom of our own ocean. Fact number 2. There are mountain ranges and volcanoes underwater that are bigger than anything on land. Most people imagine the ocean floor as a flat, empty, sandy surface. But the reality is completely different. Beneath the waves lies a dramatic landscape of towering mountains, deep valleys, vast plains, and active volcanoes. The mid-ocean ridge is a continuous underwater mountain range that stretches over 65,000 kilometers around the entire planet. That is longer than any mountain range on the surface of the Earth. It wraps around the globe like the seams on a tennis ball. Along this ridge, tectonic plates are constantly pulling apart, and magma rises up from deep inside the Earth to fill the gaps. This creates new ocean floor every single year. There are also thousands of underwater volcanoes, known as seamounts, scattered across the ocean floor. Many of them are actively erupting right now as you watch this video. Some of these volcanoes grow tall enough to break through the surface and form brand new islands. The Hawaiian Islands were formed this way over millions of years. The ocean floor is one of the most geologically active places on the entire planet, and most of it has never been seen by human eyes. Fact number 3. The ocean glows in the dark. Imagine standing on a beach at night and watching the waves light up with a brilliant blue glow every time they crash against the shore. This is not science fiction. This is a real natural phenomenon called bioluminescence, and it is one of the most breathtaking things nature has ever produced. Bioluminescence occurs when tiny microscopic organisms in the water, called dinoflagellates, produce light through a chemical reaction inside their bodies. When the water is disturbed, by waves, by a swimming fish, or even by your hand moving through the water, these organisms light up. The result is a magical blue glow that makes the entire ocean look like it is alive with light. There are beaches around the world that are famous for this phenomenon. In the Maldives, in Puerto Rico, in some parts of Australia, you can witness the ocean glowing at night with your own eyes. But bioluminescence is not just a beautiful show for tourists. Deep in the ocean, where no sunlight ever reaches, bioluminescence is the only source of light. Scientists believe that over 75% of all deep-sea creatures have the ability to produce their own light. They use it to hunt prey, to attract mates, to confuse predators, and to communicate. The deep ocean is not a dark silent void. It is filled with living light. Fact number 4. 90% of all life on Earth lives in the ocean. When you look out your window and see trees, birds, insects, and animals, it feels like the land is bursting with life. But the truth is that the land is almost empty compared to the ocean. Scientists estimate that 90% of all living organisms on Earth are found in the ocean. And the vast majority of these creatures have never been discovered or classified by science. Every single time researchers send a deep-sea exploration vehicle into the ocean, they come back with photographs of creatures that have never been seen before. Strange fish with transparent bodies. Jellyfish the size of cars. Giant squid with eyes as large as basketballs. Worms that live in boiling hot water near volcanic vents. Creatures that survive without any sunlight or oxygen. The diversity of life in the ocean is so vast and so extraordinary that scientists believe there could be millions of species living in the deep ocean that we have not yet discovered. Think about that. Millions of species on our own planet that we don't even know exist yet. Fact number 5. The sound of a blue whale can travel over 1,600 kilometers underwater. The blue whale is the largest animal that has ever lived on Earth. Bigger than any dinosaur, bigger than anything that has ever walked on land. And it is also one of the loudest creatures on the planet. A blue whale's call can reach 188 decibels, which is louder than a jet engine standing right next to you. But here is the truly incredible part. Because sound travels much faster and much farther in water than it does in air, a blue whale's call can travel over 1,600 kilometers through the ocean. That means a whale in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean could potentially communicate with another whale near the coast of Europe. For many years, scientists were completely baffled by strange, repetitive low-frequency sounds they were detecting in the ocean. They called it the mystery of the ocean sound. It took years of research before they finally realized it was just whales talking to each other across enormous distances. The ocean is not a quiet place. It is filled with a complex world of sound and communication that we are only beginning to understand. Fact number 6. The oceans produce 50% of the oxygen we breathe. Most people learn in school that trees and forests produce oxygen. And that is true. But what most people don't realize is that the ocean produces just as much oxygen as all the forests on land combined. The source of this oxygen is not fish or whales. It is tiny microscopic plants called phytoplankton. These microscopic organisms float near the surface of the ocean and use sunlight to perform photosynthesis, exactly like plants on land do, and in the process, they release oxygen into the atmosphere. There are so many billions of these tiny organisms in the ocean that together they produce approximately 50% of all the oxygen on Earth. Every second breath you take comes from the ocean. This means that the health of our oceans is directly connected to our ability to breathe. When oceans become more acidic due to pollution and climate change, phytoplankton populations collapse. And when phytoplankton disappears, the oxygen they produce disappears with it. Protecting the ocean is not just an environmental issue. It is a matter of survival for every living thing on land. Fact number 7. There are rivers and lakes inside the ocean. This sounds impossible. How can there be a river inside an ocean? But it is completely real, and the science behind it is fascinating. In certain areas of the ocean floor, water seeps up through the rock and dissolves large amounts of salt and other minerals. This creates water that is much denser and saltier than the surrounding ocean water. Because this dense water is heavier, it sinks down and flows along the ocean floor in the same way that a river flows along the ground. These underwater rivers have their own banks, their own currents, and they even create ripples and waves on their surface just like regular rivers. Some of them stretch for hundreds of kilometers. There are also underwater lakes, known as brine pools, where extremely salty water collects in depressions on the ocean floor. These pools have their own shorelines and their own surface. If you were a submarine diving down toward one, it would look exactly like approaching a lake from above. The creatures that fall into these brine pools are immediately killed by the extreme salinity. They are sometimes called the lakes of death. The ocean floor is a completely alien world with geography that defies everything we think we know about how water behaves. Fact number 8. The polar ice in the ocean controls the climate of the entire planet. The Arctic and Antarctic oceans are covered by massive sheets of ice that reflect sunlight back into space. This process is called the albedo effect, and it plays a critical role in regulating the temperature of our entire planet. When sunlight hits the white ice, up to 90% of it is reflected back into space. But when sunlight hits dark ocean water, over 90% of it is absorbed as heat. As global temperatures rise and polar ice melts, more dark ocean water is exposed. This exposed water absorbs more heat, which causes temperatures to rise even further, which melts even more ice. It is a dangerous cycle that scientists call a feedback loop. The consequences of continued polar ice melt are almost impossible to imagine. If all the ice in the Arctic and Antarctic were to melt completely, global sea levels would rise by over 60 meters. Every coastal city on Earth would be underwater. London, New York, Shanghai, Mumbai, Sydney, and hundreds of other cities would simply cease to exist. Hundreds of millions of people would be displaced. The geography of our planet would be permanently and catastrophically changed. The polar oceans are not just a remote frozen wilderness. They are the thermostat of our entire planet. Fact number 9. The oceans are in serious and immediate danger. Every single minute of every single day, the equivalent of one full garbage truck of plastic is dumped into the ocean. That is 60 trucks per hour. 1,440 trucks per day. Over 500,000 trucks per year. This plastic does not disappear. It breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces called microplastics, which are consumed by fish, birds, and marine mammals. These microplastics enter the food chain, and eventually end up on our plates in the seafood we eat. Scientists have found microplastics in human blood, in human lungs, and even in unborn babies. But plastic pollution is only one of the threats facing our oceans. Rising water temperatures are causing mass coral bleaching events, where entire coral reef ecosystems collapse and die. Ocean acidification caused by the absorption of carbon dioxide is dissolving the shells of marine creatures. Overfishing has depleted fish populations to a fraction of what they were just 50 years ago. Dead zones, areas of ocean with so little oxygen that nothing can survive, are growing larger every year. If current trends continue, scientists predict that by the year 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Fact number 10. We have no idea what is hiding in the deep ocean. After everything we have just discussed, this final fact might be the most humbling of all. Despite all of our technology, despite our satellites and submarines and sonar systems and deep-sea robots, we have only explored approximately 5% of the ocean floor in detail. 5%. That means 95% of the ocean remains completely unmapped, unexplored, and unknown. We have more detailed maps of the surface of Mars than we do of our own ocean floor. Every single expedition that ventures into the deep ocean returns with footage of creatures and landscapes that have never been seen before. Giant squid were considered mythical sea monsters for hundreds of years because no one had ever seen one alive. It was not until 2004 that the first photographs of a live giant squid in its natural habitat were taken. Just a few years ago, researchers discovered a species of whale that had never been documented before, living in the deep ocean, completely unknown to science. There are mountains underwater taller than any mountain in Europe that have never been named or mapped. There are entire ecosystems built around hydrothermal vents that operate without any sunlight at all, thriving on chemical energy from the Earth itself. The deep ocean is the last great frontier on our planet, and we have barely scratched the surface. The oceans cover over 70% of our planet. They regulate our climate, produce half our oxygen, contain 90% of all life on Earth, and hold secrets that we cannot even begin to imagine. They are the most important and the most mysterious place on our planet. And right now, they need our help more than ever before. If you found this video fascinating, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because we have so much more to explore together. And leave a comment below telling me which fact surprised you the most. I read every single comment and I would love to know what you think. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.